Barb has always been really generous with the advice. She still is. And she's, involved in their life. They like hanging around her, so they keep inviting her, places, and she shows up.
Congratulations on season 2 of Run the World. We're nervous because we know that, Ella was not going to be in season 2.
She's on a great adventure. Yes.
Which we cannot spill. But without the character Ella in season 2, were you nervous about how your trajectory would go on the show as far as your character was concerned?
No, not at all, because there's so many things that Barb has that I think they leveraged, which was her veteran status as in the space of media, and also that she's a boss. They're talking about running the world. She is a boss. So to have that conversation, which is generational between people who are trying to become and a person who's arrived, was always going to be there. So I was really excited to see what would happen.
Now, that was something that I was going to segue into my next question, because we love Barb as, being the boss that she is. And I really love the way that she was immersed into the season with the rest of the cast, and her being like a hilarious voice of reason or mentor of sort. And I feel like Barb really exudes where Black women are now in the workplace and doing similar things as having multiple jobs.
Oh, for sure.
Multiple hats. And in season 1, something that stood out to me as a journalist was you told Ella the importance of being adaptable. How timely do you feel as if that portion of the storyline is? And do you think that there's still a generational divide in terms of adaptability and flexibility?
That's a great question. Really brilliant. It's everything: being adaptable, being flexible, being able to see and read the room. People would call it move, stick and move, know when to stay and know when to move on. That's everything. And you usually only learn those things through experience. Sometimes a person can have an instinct for it and it can work. Some people move too fast and they miss the opportunity. So it's how to adapt not only to things around you, but to how to adapt to how you grow. Some people don't want to admit that they've grown away from a person or grown away from doing a certain thing. And you've got to accept that life is about growth. It's about forward progression. And so I think that very much in my life, I've tried to adapt as Erika Alexander and grow by teaching myself new skill sets, whether it was writing, doing more directing, creating bigger challenges for me. If I didn't think the industry was giving it to me, I tried to make a way for myself. And that was me adapting. That was me adapting in real time.
Now we see, like I mentioned, you being the voice of reason in this group of talented yet ambitious and sometimes all over the place millennials. What was your take on her role within the group in season 2?
She's a life coach. Barb has always been really generous with the advice. She still is. And she's, involved in their life. They like hanging around her, so they keep inviting her, places, and she shows up because she is an enthusiastic person. And I really love that there is a generational conversation in this series to break the myth that you have to stay within your so-called peer sets. What's a peer? Some people think of it as an age. They might think of it as a career. There's nothing like that. Your tribe is made up of different many ages, different many skill sets, different many careers, and different places. And so she, I think, builds out the tribe in a really strong way.
Now, we obviously loved you in Living Single, and now this show is also centered on Black women and Black women empowerment. Why do you feel as if this format is such a big formula to the success of a lot of the shows that we've seen that have stood the test of time, and it keeps becoming a recurring theme?
That's another good question. When you started to ask me that, I started thinking about the harmony that women have when they bring their voices together. If you think about it in the 50s, and there's a lot of harmony, but the thing that comes to mind is, he's a boogie woogie bugle boy of company B. And somebody goes, he's a boogie woogie bugle boy of company. You need the bass, you need the middle, you need the high, you need somebody, he's a boogie woogie. That makes an amazing sound. And then when you put them together in terms of personality, you have a harmony that feels like one note, but is many different layers. And I think that that's why people love to see series with ensemble companies, and that's what this is.
Now, in terms of Barb's storyline moving forward, now that we see that, she serves a true purpose in the group, I like the fact that you said something about when we think about peers, we think about them being in our specific age group. And I've always tended to like friend older. And I think that I've learned a lot, within those circles. But how do you foresee her storyline developing outside of being a mentor or just hanging out with the crew? What would you like to see as far as her character development is concerned and, potentially season 3 and onward?
Sure. I would love to see her start to take on the advice that she's giving and see how she applies it in her life. Right now, she's able to tell them how to apply it in theirs, but it really would be interesting to see that maybe behind the door, she's a mess. And we do see that a little bit. She's a little bit much more messy than she gives on. And I love the mask, that she has a mask. She's out there taking risks and doing that. But when you take the mask off, who is she? What does she have to deal with? How hard is it to be successful, to keep that up? Can you keep that up? What kind of toll did it take on her? What kind of self-care is she giving herself, if at all? She may look like she has it together. It'd be really good to see her world.
Now, even though there were some changes this season, I love the fact that we were really able to delve into each individual storyline a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Whose story did you enjoy the most watching in season 2?
Wow, they all have great stories. I really liked Corbin's story because she's dealing with things that have to do with running up against her ambitions and somebody else's design for her, and it's a healthy relationship, but it's a really complicated question. And I really love Bresha because she's out there trying to build as an entrepreneur and she doesn't know as much as she needs to, and she finds out that there's roadblocks ahead. They have a great psychologist, and when you're talking about what they could do with Barb, it would be great to see them in group therapy, all of them. All, Barb included, talking, including the men, like group, separate and group. I think that would be so hilarious. We've never seen it. I would love to see it.
And overall, how are you hoping that fans react to this season? As you mentioned, we can't give out too many spoilers, but there are some fun additions. I love that we get to see their individual families in this season. I thought that made for deeper conversations, especially with like successful women in that age group, and then probably in a lot of their cases, they were the ones who made it. So I think that is also very timely with conversations going on, especially across social media. So there's a lot of things that people can pull, from this season specifically.
Definitely.
But what do you think the takeaways are?
I think the takeaway is that the time is now. Haul ass. You really don't have as much time as you think you do. And move forward with confidence. If you don't have confidence, you don't need it to move forward. You'll gain it as you go forward. And I think that you can see them working that out, but to actually apply it in your life and to try to take that away that no one really knows. And yet people do know some things. So figure out some things that are wise to take with you and, shrug off the rest and see where you land with it and create a new universe.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Like I said, I hope we get way more seasons to come. I love Barb's character. She reminds me of some of my older friends. So
I love it. I love her too. I love her too. I really appreciate your compliments and thanks for the great questions. Wonderful.
Of course. Well done. Hopefully I'll talk to you next year. I got a chance to watch all episodes of season 2. I'm so excited. First and foremost, were you guys nervous about moving forward as a trio? And did you have any input into you guys' storyline or character development this season because of the change?
I wasn't anxious. I was actually really excited. The three of us have really great chemistry. And so I knew that it would just be captured in the show. And I was excited when I read the scripts and we talked with Rochelle, our showrunner, about where she was headed with these characters. And I was thrilled because I personally didn't see it all coming. I think that there's so many fun things that happen throughout the season that are unpredictable and exciting. And I was feeling good about it.
Yeah, it was such a collaborative process, truly. I mean, anytime we had a thought, Rochelle, our showrunner, was so incredible. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that she walked over to like the side of a set after I had like a concern about something, and she would like rewrite the entire scene in like 3 minutes. And I'm like, how did you do that? And it's brilliant. So no, we were in very good hands. Yep. And the fact that the three of us are such good friends in real life, we were like, it was a no-brainer. It's summer camp.
Yeah, it really is. It's summer camp.
Yeah, help it. Yeah.
There were a lot of fun surprises in there. I can't say too much because I can't give it away. But one of the things I loved, just going off of what happened in season 1, was the idea you guys don't necessarily do group therapy, but you have the same therapist, right? So, and I'm not mad at it because I feel like therapy is important. I feel like friendship therapy probably should be more of a thing because it's more difficult to juggle or handle than I feel like most romantic relationships. So. Bresha, what is your take on the idea of the way that therapy is shown throughout the series?
Well, I think it's a product of self-care. Like, I feel we all are taking our self-care into consideration. We're all going through this big transition, our characters individually, and we know how much it is important for us to lean on each other as a sisterhood, but how also it is important for us to check in with ourselves and to make decisions for ourselves that support where we're going. And that's what's so great about this season, that we get to see us make those decisions confidently. And it's not like our therapist is telling us what to do. She's asking us the right questions so that we can ask ourselves and walk honestly through, walk through those, really difficult and uncomfortable situations. And I think that's the challenge that a lot of people are scared to even embark on. And that's why some people don't even go to therapy, because they say it's, I have to ask myself these questions, but it's like you walk firmly into what you believe in, and, you just discover it for yourself, and it's a part of self-care.
Now, I love that the show highlights women in their 30s who are refusing to settle in relationships, even if they are fearful, no matter how good a partner may appear, on paper. We saw it last season, obviously, with Amber's character. And, Whitney's still reeling from that. And we also see it with Bresha and Corbin's character as well. Like, y'all have no problem, okay, leaving these men without apology. So, Corbin, for you, how do you feel like the show contributes to the conversation about not settling in relationships, the whole idea of Black women's standards being too high or unrealistic, and even, in terms of starting a family, because you are unapologetic about all of it this season?
Yeah, I think specifically too, I haven't really even talked about this yet with Black women. I think a lot of us end up in the caretaker role, and there's a huge responsibility, and there's a huge amount of compromise and selflessness that comes with that. And if you're not with the right partner, you can feel very taken for granted. And I'm not so sure that every single woman feels emboldened enough to make the decision to draw the boundary with their partner or whomever they're, making that sacrifice for, to say, listen, I need more. You're not giving me what I need in exchange for what I'm giving in this situation. And the wonderful thing about Sondi is she has the courage to choose herself and to decide, what it means to set those boundaries and then to act on them. And it, like you said, on paper, it doesn't matter how good something looks. If it's not working for you, you do have to have that courage and that self-awareness to say, is this really what I want? Is this really what I need? And I really hope that, through the choices that my character makes this season, that I give license to women watching to make similar choices, because I do think it's very courageous. And I think it's super important to care for yourself in that way, especially as a Black woman.
Yeah. I really also, there's a big change this season with seeing more of Barb and her storyline and where she fits in with the group. And I love her inclusion this time around. So for you, Amber, how do you feel a character like Barb is in one's personal and professional life? Because she is a bit older, than you guys are on the show.
She's someone that all of our characters admire. We like when she's around. She makes us laugh, but she's, living life on her own terms, and she's successful in the ways that she wants to be. And so in a way, she reflects the aspirations that we have as for ourselves individually as characters on the show. So to have her is a blast, but also she's just a reflection of like a generation ahead of us and how she can live her life also unapologetically.
Now, my favorite aspect of the show, aside from the storylines, is obviously the fashions. We thoroughly enjoy them. So talk to us about working with the wardrobe team and establishing you guys' fashion for your specific characters. And outside of your characters, whose style do you love the most?
Oh, Outside of our characters? What do you mean?
Like on the show or in life?
Like on the show, yeah.
On the show. Oh.
Well, I love Renee's style. Renee's style is like a lot like my style. Like Renee is embarking on her own journey. And so she's playing more with her hair. You know, she's creating her own lane, you know, with her own business. So she doesn't have to conform to other people's standards of how she should look. So she's taking those chances. And I love that I was given the opportunity to incorporate different hairstyles that matched the outfits. And shout out to Tracy Cox and Patricia Field, who also collaborated with each and every one of us to figure out what feels good to us. And they also like allowed us to like give them feedback. Like I wanted to, you know, use more Black designers, and, you know, Laquan Smith, he's definitely shouted out in the first season and in this season as well, and so many others. So
yeah,
it's a collaborative process.
Yeah, I would say it was really exciting to work with so many Black designers and to give, because we do have a big platform, and Patricia and Tracy were both totally on board to do that. I wear a custom Andre Walker coat in the second episode that's actually a personal of Patricia's. He's a Black designer, obviously, that I did not want to take off, amongst some other really fun things. But to Bresha's point about hair, like my character is, you know, getting her PhD in African American Studies, and I just got so excited about the fact that, you know, I work for a network that supports the fact that I wanted to be able to really show women that they can embrace their textures no matter what space they're in. And, you know, I had an incredible hairstylist who was able to help me, you know, capture those moments and have that diversity with my hair, which is not something that you often see with my hair type on television.
And it's elevated.
Yeah, it's exciting. Classy. It's like you don't have to be one way as a Black woman. You can embrace what you have and also do fun stuff and add it in. And I just really love that I was able to embrace that sort of Afrocentric modern day woman on the show. So it was fun to play with this season.
Definitely had curl girl envy.
Yes.
In real life, I would wear Sondi's clothes to answer that question.
And I took a little bit of Whitney's outfits for myself. I've been incorporating more suit jackets.
Yes. I wear a lot of cool, like vintage 90s suits, like supermodel suits. That was really fun. Like Richard Tyler classic fitting, awesome suits. Those are really fun.
Yeah.
Well, this season was so fun to watch. I cannot wait to see what happens in season 3. So, you know,
That's right.
I thank you for that.
Speak it.